My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Good morning. It is Monday, October 27, 2025. And as you'll recall, the documentation that I captured yesterday, October 26, 2025, Starbucks is leading off the documentation, the evidence of conspiring my murder, and it's also legally relevant that Starbucks committed kidnapping with the same city of Ontario. Starbucks employees, including Ocean, Amelia, Patty, etc., they're going to federal prison. They are sharing in the criminal pattern of conduct even when I'm across the street at the OVITT Family Community Library in the same city, where they are stalking in the path as an establishment, as employees who are monitoring on communication devices on the same block where the fake sun is rising and setting over me. And they committed kidnapping while that fake sun was in alignment to me while I was inside of that corrupt establishment, gang stalking me with the domestic terrorists, the Ontario police. Similar to what I documented yesterday, gang stalking via stalking with light, this is what Cool Transports is engaging in at approximately 7:01 a.m. where Omnitrans, that's gang stalking. Omnitrans, in other words, knows that I'm not getting on the bus. Omnitrans is keeping me under surveillance. Omnitrans is surrounded with that evidence also. The fake sun remains over me through the windows of these buses, these vehicles, no matter what direction I'm going in, no matter what route I get on, no matter what time of day. And I have proven that Omnitrans are full of demons that are operating public transportation. In other words, engaging in federal stalking on the roads and the highways and facilitating massive facilitation while on the roads and the highways, engaging in what is a threat to my life, both operating a dangerous machine while monitoring me in furtherance of murder. And I'm documenting this ongoing threat to my life while the fake sun is moving in real time. And you're going to juxtapose that with my documentation. When I'm at the Ontario Town Square and Omnitrans is driving by, that is gang stalking me as well. And the fake sun is remaining stationary, which is speaking to the deliberately maintained environment that is supernatural, that is demonic, that's again inherently harmful, psychologically torturous, while 8AFL 892 crosses path on the roads and the highways, gang stalking me and aiming impossible light just like these demons do when I'm walking, and they're stalking with impossible light, sharing in a sex offense and sharing in what is stalking behaviors by the mentally ill who are monitoring. This is the criminal activity of monitoring spirits. These monitoring spirits have names, government means of identity, they have government positions as well, and they're going to be federally prosecuted for the conspiracy to commit murder while a demon-possessed entity, the state of California, is maintaining criminal surveillance. Cool Transports, Omnitrans, that is engaged in what is monitoring while stopping at the bus stop while I'm packing up my property, is doing so while you have the entity that is gang stalking Balbir, that's gang stalking at Chevron. You have the gang stalking employee with the black Volvo. These license plates are already on the record because they are routinely, that is serial stalking. That is a basis of federal prison. And it's also a basis of federal prison because they're both documented. Both venues are regularly engaged in targeting me with the gang stalking terrorists that conspire murder while gang stalking you. That's the gang stalking police department. That's federal prison. And it's also relevant to what is deportation of any immigrant status that's relevant to the prosecution of Balbir and Chevron. The Omnitrans is surrounding with light activity, just like yesterday at Starbucks, surrounding with light activity in my path, while the entity is stalking by the Ontario International Airport. This is at approximately 7:01 a.m. It's the same pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in what is a variation of iterations where it's the same maintenance of elements by the same entity. 98763 Frank 2, 8K81183, 8KSG 711. License plate 8TAB453 9HYE307. And I want to be clear, ARCO and Chevron and Starbucks, UNICARE Community Health Center, 537 North Euclid Avenue, RAYBON Mortgage, the so-called Bethel Congregation Church. It's a congregation of demons that are engaged in monitoring. That's why a fake sun is over me on this same street where I'm documenting the fake sunrise, which is speaking to everybody. The ones that I just mentioned, their license plate, the businesses that I'm referring to, and the entirety of the state is stalking and monitoring me while a fake sun is placed in the sky space in my path, and it remains here as a matter of documentation, including over the top of my head 5 hours from now. 4 hours from now, that's not the sun, and that is speaking to what is exclusive. Florida is not having any sort of sunlight. The sun is not in that state at all when the entity engages in this obvious pattern of conduct. 8WPD 832. So this is Omnitrans that is gang stalking at 7:01 a.m. targeting me and doing so in furtherance of murder. MS Heart MIA, Miss Mia, is a demon and she is regularly documented. She's a serial stalker, and that's relevant to her federal prosecution while she's conspiring murder with the government that's routinely providing evidence against her, stalking me in helicopters as a corrupt agency. License plate 7CTH969. It's the same with regard to Tracy Banks and Eric Spencer. They're going to prison based on the weight of the evidence against them conspiring me with the state. It's the same with Jason Isaac Fields and the federal government. I'm going to prosecute, and their engagement in what is facilitating conspiracy of my murder while gang stalking via the state of California. They're going to federal prison based on the weight of the evidence, the investigation that I conducted in order to prove that the federal government is indeed targeting through the incompetence of the demons in California that lost control and were not able to contain the fact that they are targeting an American citizen, which I have single-handedly, unilaterally proven. That is Jason Isaac Fields, the top of that list. He's going to federal prison. License 87201D4. The ARCO employee, this is license 9 Thomas Igloo Henry 520. And if this is a immigrant, he's going to be deported. License 8S75660. And Miss Mia is gang stalking with regard to the federal RICO case against Chevron by stalking at a gas stall. And this is a psychopath stalking with light. She's keeping her foot on the brake while she's crossing paths with me. And she's doing so on behalf of the city of Ontario. All right, in furtherance of murders. Stalking with light, stalking in the path, stalking in amongst amplified audible activity is the monitoring that the entity is engaging in while they are monitoring as a population and as a corrupt government. And this is the cooperative engagement in those elements of monitoring, while the entity, like you see on video, like you hear on video on this podcast, is maintaining stalking me by planes as I leave the town square and I go to the bus stop. That's where the entity is stalking with helicopter. That's where the entity is stalking by commercial planes. Okay, Balbir and the demon at ARCO, Starbucks, are sharing in what is the P.O.C. Miss Mia is engaged in what is walking right inside. Balbir is gang stalking, capturing her image. These demons are gang stalking at Starbucks. Yeah, Balbir's license plate is 9EFH194. She's engaged in what is gang stalking, and that is deportation, while the government is stalking me through your presence. And that is occurring through employment, that's occurring through residence, that's occurring through construction, as you see Leonida Builders, as you see Griffith Company, as you see these Herc Rentals, all these security pavement, all these corrupt companies that are engaged in what is light activity, relevant positioning, and audible noise. This is the means of the entity of demons who are monitoring. And they commit kidnapping. That's the purpose of the criminal summoning at Starbucks, the purpose of the criminal summoning at OVITT Family Community Library, etc. The entity is engaging what is stalking right now via commercial planes. License 9PWR012, while a demon is sounding what is a horn, a means of audible noise. That's that demonic synchronicity. These are the psychopaths that resort to hysterical laughter while they're documented for their embarrassing and sexually violent and mentally deranged pattern of conduct. Okay, Ms. Mia is the one with the nappy braids. She's engaged in gang stalking with Balbir inside, and regularly engaged in gang stalking an African American, another black-faced demon that's engaged in criminal surveillance. There is no such thing as Black Lives Matter with regard to actually believing in that that course, that theme with regard to the terrorist organizations that are killing African American people. The entities engaged in what is targeting through black people with corrupt law enforcement agencies. Black Lives Matter is nothing other than a means of maliciously engaging in a pattern of conduct of monitoring amongst demons that are African American. Okay, so that's when you're looking at race, which is only on the surface, and so you are not understanding gang stalking if you are focusing on race. All right, these are demon-possessed people, and they are of all races, and by the way, very united. MS Heart MIA, gang stalking a gas stall number 4, and 9PWR012, gang stalking at gas tank number 7, and Balbir, gang stalking by employment at Chevron, fake sunrise, and set 9FEH194, license 8RZU003, molest in concert with Chevron, and molest in concert with Balbir, molest in concert with the City of Ontario. That's the entity that's engaged in that P.O.C, and this level of impunity is relevant to their mental illness. I want you to hear the plane activity. That's again MS Heart MIA, acting in concert with the city. All right, she's on surveillance cameras. She's making a purchase. This is the federal RICO case, and that's again the City of Ontario stalking last night at following me to the intersection of F Street and Euclid, just like MS Heart MIA. She's following to Euclid Avenue and E Street. The entity is proven that while they are stalking with the elements of monitoring, they're stalking as a population. License 8YTY068, they're maintaining surveillance, stalking you as a population. That's why the plane activity is stalking. As I go north of Euclid Avenue, that's why the helicopter activity is stalking as I go in any direction in Ontario. And that is speaking to stalking that MS Heart MIA shares in as a population. This demon makes a right or left or goes east or west on Euclid Avenue, and the next faceless demon is maintaining that same presence. This entity is engaged in surveillance, and they are psychopaths that resort to hysterical laughter when they're documented. 8NSW816. This is P.O.C. This is where the entity is maintaining plane activity right now at the ARCO, 434 North Euclid Avenue, 506 North Euclid Avenue. That's the entity at the intersection of E and Euclid. The entity is no longer flying right next to me, where Omnitrans is engaging in the same thing that, and Cool Transport, that's what they are sharing in today. This is what I documented yesterday, stalking in the path with light activity, while the demons that are using commercial planes that are going to be prosecuted for the conspiracy to commit murder of an American citizen that they are keeping under surveillance through the use of the Ontario International Airport, the use of commercial planes that are deviating with regard to flight where I'm located in the city in order to hover over that
that sky space in order to engage in criminal surveillance with the people of the state. Demons that are monitoring, that's the significance of plane activity. That's the significance of engineer light. That's the significance of presence in that environment. The entity is exhibiting severe mental illness while they are gang stalking using things like planes and helicopters. Okay? Engaging in what is serial stalking conduct is the third party that's in the parking lot that I'm documenting on video, I'm documenting on podcasts, I'm documenting in images, and engaging in what is impunity and furtherance of murder, doing so with the government that's flying over the top of my head in the parking lot. That is 7MAM 913. Engaging in that while the entity is engaging in what is stalking in the path. Hold on, I didn't get that. 7MAM 913. Let me get an image. This is serial stalking. This is relevant to the prosecution where you're gang stalking with the government. That's the entity that's engaging in that pattern of conduct and furtherance of murder. And this is how a government is keeping you under surveillance, the people of the state that are obsessively remaining in your path. And that obsession is equally present and proven where the gang stalker is an employee, or the gang stalker is a co-worker of the target individual, or the gang stalker is a government employee at the city hall. The entity is keeping a fake sun over that city hall, over that place of employment, over wherever the target individual works. That is superseding what a demon presupposes is going to be a cover. Oh, I work here. Oh, I live here. Oh, I work with the target individual. I can't be stalking. What are you talking about? That's the pattern of conduct. The entity maintains that crime scene, that specific environment, while they're engaging in that P.O.C, okay? And this is the entity that's maintaining serial flight. Another plane right now, this is mental illness, as I'm documenting, and I'm exposing to you the mental illness that the demon-possessed pose. Flying in circles over the top of my head for over 5 minutes, that's the outward demonstration of a psychopath that's lost control. The entity the demon-possessed seek to conceal their mental illness, and they also want to conceal their demon possession. They also obviously want to conceal the fact that they're gang stalking as an entity. All right, they're not hiding any of that in the specific environment, and they're also overtly exposing severe mental illness that's a threat to themselves and the public when they engage in psychopathic pacing. You are witnessing psychopathic pacing by a population of people who you see on traffic. You're not looking at traffic, you're looking at pacing back and forth and engineer light. When the entity is doing so with commercial planes, one after another, after another, after another, that's psychopathic pacing. And when the demon is engaging in what is flight in circles over the top of my head, it doesn't have to be over the top of my head. They can do it in front of me. What you'll see is the fake sun. What you'll see is the engineer light surrounding. That's psychopathic pacing. That's the overt expression. They're communicating the fact that they are mentally ill, they need help. This is the entity that's engaging in that mentally demented behavior while they are stalking. This is the demon-possessed who are mentally ill, and all I'm showing you is the evidence that where you're witnessing it themselves, how you are understanding mental illness is at the forefront regarding a whole population, and you are not saying in the first place gang stalking, but they are showing you all the ways in which I'm showing you right now. I'm pointing out that's their mental illness for you to witness, okay? License plate, stalking, mentally ill, license plate. 8SMG325. While a demon is stalking in a helicopter and flying for 5+ minutes over my head by helicopter, you need to understand that mental illness is shared by everybody, that whole population. They're all gang stalking together. Okay, but it's giving a lot of crucial insight because a whole agency shares mental illness. An agency, they're mentally ill, they have no business around firearms, they have no business, they're incompetent, they have no business in law enforcement. They are also not engaged in law enforcement. That's why such mental illness, psychopathic in particular, is masquerading as law enforcement while they're actually engaged in criminal surveillance, which my evidence proves. And I'm also showing how they are mentally ill while they are sharing in the criminal elements of monitoring. Demons stalking with impossible light, demons stalking obsessively day and night, spending millions of dollars on that for one person. Why are you doing? You're mentally ill. Okay, not only is it criminal, but you're way too invested in stalking someone. That's mental illness while they on the surface want to appear, oh, I love my family and I'm going to work and I'm clocking out, I'm going home. They're not consumed about any of that. They are obsessively engaging in surveillance, and they are obsessively engaging in surveillance and furtherance of murder that they are invested in accomplishing as an entity, as an agency, as a city. Okay, as a system that remains in operation. Okay, this is the pattern of conduct, and it's exposing mental illness, and the mentally ill are being deported out of this country. They are a national security threat. The gang stalking terrorists are being deported out of this country, but you need to understand they're not just criminals. They're not just engaged in what is criminal activity. In other words, they are a threat because of the high instability, mental instability. Okay, so this morning, cool transfer, the same pattern of conduct. So the entity is engaging in what is stalking. Omnitrans stops at the bus stop. Omnitrans is a demon-infected agency that's engaged in surveillance, already documented, proven. 9 RPB 693. So they're not being nice and curious as to whether I'm getting on the bus while I'm at the bus stop packing up my property. They're monitoring. They're stalking in the path. Hazard lights on, brake lights on, audible noise. Every demon on that bus is in use of a communication device monitoring. It's light activity right in my path while the demon flies over the storefront, just like you saw on video. The Ontario International Airport, utilizing that criminal presence and light activity, flies right over the Truth and Love Ministries right next to me. Amplified plane activity crossing in the path. Mental illness is shared by everybody that's monitoring with this iteration of the P.O.C. They're all mentally ill. The baristas preparing your coffee. The demons that are working as clerks inside of the gas stations. The demons that are inside of the UNICARE Community Health Center wearing scrubs, calling themselves medical professionals. Okay? These are the demons that are monitoring. 8SQE810. They're engaging in, that's an iteration of the same P.O.C. This is what I documented, started the evidence with, is what the entity is engaging in as I wake up yesterday. Starbucks monitoring, a demon in front of the storefront, hazard lights on, the demons of the Ontario International Airport stalking, flying over the storefront. This is the entity that's providing a wealth of evidence, and there is no mystery about targeting. So, like I said, this is the entity that's going to be prosecuted. Domestic terrorists in this country are exposed, and they are hiding amongst American citizens and amongst the government. So you have what is domestic terrorists calling themselves police chiefs, and 6 minutes of terrorizing me and stalking using a helicopter is directly rebutting the genuineness of that position, the purpose of it in California, which is to maintain criminal surveillance and facilitate terrorism. Okay, the people of the state are gang stalking with commercial planes, license 9T-MX 909. All right, doing so while aiming light, putting air in the tire. This is where the demons are stalking with commercial planes right here in ARCO. Again, headquartered in Los Angeles, is going to be prosecuted as a domestic enemy. Understand that domestic enemies in the United States, okay? They are not holding meetings about carrying big bazookas and then carrying big knives around in the Congo and going around raping villages full of women. What they are CEOs of large companies that make a lot of money. They exercise a lot of influence. They hire a demon-possessed workforce. They are acting in concert with a demon-possessed, corrupt government, where they're engaged in what is criminal surveillance with that entity. They are a part of that entity, maliciously engaging in what is status as though they are a private party, a private citizen or a private company, private property, etc. License plate, stalking. 7VVP628. These are psychopaths stalking with light in the parking lot. And they are none of that whatsoever. And they are the CEOs, the head of the, for example, the gang stalking airports, the CEO, the creator, Bezos over Amazon. Okay, this is Steve over Allied Universal. They're a bunch of demon-possessed gang stalkers, corrupt businesses. In other words, it's a massive RICO case with regard to a prosecution of a government where the demons are also, their patrons are the demon-possessed people of the state that are gang stalking together through their businesses at the establishments in that city, in that state. License 5UCR830, stalking with light in the parking lot, mentally ill. The entities engaging in this pattern of conduct with and through the people of the state who are business owners and their terrorist leaders. In the United States, it's relevant to what is a capitalistic endeavor, making money upon what is engaging in criminal surveillance, which is exposing to you what are, it's a monitoring system, it's a surveillance system, and they're demons who are monitoring you, including while they sell you products that serve in keeping you under surveillance, by the way. This is the company Delta Airlines, maintaining an airlines company, and they're engaged in criminal surveillance through the business of providing destinations, planes to fly you to destinations for a fee, and they're engaged in surveillance simultaneously. They're also engaged in what is the surveillance system, which includes, again, they're demons that are monitoring, and demons, they engage in what are providing sacrifices. This is murdering people. So this is where the entities engage in what is what I've shown you. Gang stalking are these companies that are engaging in what is sacrificing. All right, this is a sacrifice while you're participating in what is targeting somebody. This is a satanic sacrifice that they've committed, and this is the evidence of what is demonic. And it's informing you about the company. It's informing you about all the companies because they're acting with as an entity, but it's informing you about the company in particular as I identify, oh, that's Delta Airlines, Alaska Airlines, American Airlines. There's Frontier, there's UPS, there's Amazon Prime Air. That's the entity that's engaging in a pattern of conduct, and it's a demonic pattern of conduct, and it's a criminal pattern of conduct, and it is a pattern of conduct that is shared, and terrorist leaders are identified as business owners, CEOs, shareholders. They are the ones that are at the heads of the government, the mayor and the police chief and the fire chief. They're engaged in surveillance. License 7745, I can't really see that one. They're engaged in what is leadership over the businesses and over government bodies that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. That is, Mike Lorenz is a corrupt terrorist leader, where this ongoing targeting by the entire agency is a documented pattern of conduct. Okay, that terrorist leader is going to be prosecuted. This is putting it into context what you're seeing terrorism by those abroad, foreign enemies. These are domestic enemies, and this is how it is appearing in the United States, and you're going to be prosecuted accordingly. You're not separate and distinct. While the CEO of Starbucks is engaged in, and this is a terrorist leader, Starbucks is engaged in monitoring American citizens. They're not engaged in what is their focus, in other words, is not coffee preparation and selling that. They make money while they're engaged in surveillance. You need to understand that surveillance is underway in this country. In the United States, they center it around making money, okay, with a corrupt government. Hence, the corrupt police chief, fire department, the city airport, while they're gang stalking with every business in the city that is in the state. License plate 9GWR029, psychopath, mentally ill, license 96853S1, I believe. License plate 8TGJ415. License plate 9LLU258, 6ZJY155, and this is mental illness because they're coming down here. This is not about traffic, and I have to get this way to get to work. They're maintaining light activity. This is mental illness, and they're doing this on behalf of the government that is clearly stalking from place to place in planes, and clearly stalking and targeting, flying over my head for a prolonged period when they finally had it, and they're showing all their maniacal frustration. License 8ZSP546, 7TTP187. License 8FMS586, and the way that they're showing their frustration every day, stalking every day. 8SWR359 by helicopter activity. And they did so for 5+ minutes last night. That's the entity. Those are the businesses. Those are the business owners. Those are the establishments that are stalking in furtherance of murder with the corrupt government. They are acting in sync. And they're all demons. They don't hold meetings and, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to fly over her head when she finally walks in the parking lot at this time. They are stalking, and you're looking at how unorganized it is. Very disorganized, because they're demons that just engage in chaos, targeting someone that doesn't have any evidence to prove it. And that's why I'm capturing, just a whole catalog, a repository of evidence, foolish decisions that are made, and it's affecting the entire entity. It's showing a pattern of conduct amongst the government and the people, and I'm going to prosecute the government that is acting in concert with the people. License 8HZT415, because the entity is not making decisions to target and engage in the P.O.C. based on what is going to affect everybody. They just make willy-nilly decisions. I'm going to molest with light over here, even though they just got the helicopter activity, and it shows an ongoing. They're not analyzing anything. They're just stalking. That's it. They're all stalking. That's it. They don't have like a leader that's making decisions. Okay, hold this back. Don't do that. Restrain this. They're engaged in all-out attacking and targeting. And I am showing you the logical identification and also the legal reasoning behind prosecuting, as you are documenting a consistent pattern of conduct amongst the mentally ill who are sharing in the criminal elements of monitoring. They're all in what is a supernatural environment. They're all in what is under the circumstance of an airport, clearly stalking, targeting. You are flying way out of your way to be over the Truth and Love Ministry storefront. You are going out of your way targeting me while the entity is stalking with impossible light activity. That's not a coincidence. That's a pattern. You are engaging in what is going out of your way and stalking, regardless if you wanted to state that it's at the airport. Guess what? They're gang stalking at the airport, where impossible light and a fake sun is present. The entity is surrounded, and it is inevitable with regard to a prosecution, but they are very much not engaging in a takeoff, hovering over here and everywhere that I'm at in the city of Ontario, in that environment. 9UPY197, that environment is maintained by demons. Demons that own these corrupt companies like Cool Transport and Omnitrans, which is a state actor. Alan D. WAPNER is again associated with corruption of businesses that are engaging in surveillance. Alan D. WAPNER is going to be prosecuted as a domestic terrorist, conspiring murder. All right, that's what the airport's issue is, and it's a documented issue. 5WFT506, and so is that third party's issue with that airport conspiring my murder together. The airport, that is the government, can't do it without the business owners. They can't do it without the population. That is the conspiracy that is implied. it is already in operation because you don't have an ongoing consistent coincidence that is clinically referred to as a pattern. And it's an inevitable pattern. 7XQS156, this is P.O.C. All right, and so the entity is engaging in this while they are conspiring murder, and the entity that's engaging in this while you are of the status of being an immigrant, you're being deported. You are subject to what are mental examinations as a one to be prosecuted for gang stalking, domestic terrorism in the U.S. 6J43121. You are also a violent sex offender engaging in sexual violence as an entity upon being prosecuted, and that is shared by businesses. Businesses are going to be prosecuted for the criminal acts of sexual violence, for the criminal act of terrorism, and doing so in concert with a government act. So they are not private companies, they're third parties. They're not private properties, they're not private citizens, they're third parties. They're facilitating venues, okay? Stalking at what is D Street in Euclid to maintain light. The entity is covering up the fake sun. This is relevant to what is Ceres Regis Group, where you see the fake sun and the demons are stalking with impossible light across that wall. So you have what is, again, the demon on the same street maintaining light activity 3616 for Robert 1, 8ZAV571, 8TJA082, 9PZN584. These are demons that are stalking. 9FPC589, okay? And they're doing so as an entity. This is the entity, Ceres Regis Group, that's going to be prosecuted while the demon possessed engage in surveillance, using that property, around the property, above the property, stalking around the property, and doing so conspicuously is an unlawful threat that the government is posing. Flying over your head for 5 minutes in a helicopter, engaging what is stalking with light right in your face, doing so while they're monitoring you in furtherance of murder. This is the entity that's engaging in that surveillance, which you're going to prosecute for, and it's also the evidence of mental illness. This is license 36164R1, monitoring with the demons that are crossing paths, 7PGJ969. Understand that this is an iteration of the same thing. The fake sun shining, demons like 7PGJ968 driving by, and engineer light moving across the wall. Having this demon that's stalking on the side of the apartment building with their lights on is an iteration of the same conduct, maintaining light, all right, while they're crossing path, and each of them crossing path with light. 9PXG700, again, Ceres Regis, this is 320 North Euclid Avenue. Everybody inside of that apartment building is monitoring while the entity is maintaining that pattern of conduct of stalking in the path with light, doing so while the government is stalking in the city with planes and helicopters, and maintaining means of light activity, facilitating light activity. This is how your understanding surveillance is underway, through the use of communication devices on the venue of the internet, and the entity engages in what is attacking, that is documented, but stalking, for example, in planes and helicopters, while I am in the process of uploading evidence about it, which is also not a coincidence. It's within the pattern of conduct regarding Title 18 federal stalking. 9VED716. It is P.O.C. License 55676D3. 8XUB971. Yeah, 8XUB971. This is P.O.C. And it is currently 7:38 a.m. And this third party, again, 36164R1, is a third party acting with 6ZCT544 and every other demon that's stalking at this intersection to maintain criminal presence and light activity with that demon. That's facilitation. Conspicuous stalking, 8FSZ422. Right, they're all engaged in conspicuous stalking, but this isn't a demon that's standing. It would be the same thing if Leonida, the city of Ontario, they do the same thing, stalking in the path with light. This is what Omnitrans is doing, and you are assuming that they're supposed to because it's a bus stop, and they're stalking in the path with light. 6VJX486. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, the entity is maintaining light with the cool transports at ARCO this morning, and also with Omnitrans and the Ontario International Airport that is maintaining presence by flying stalking, which you could hear also when I walked up north to the E and Euclid intersection, where they're stalking by flying over the ARCO intersection. License 8TJA082, stalking in the parking lot of the OVITT Family Community Library. These are demons that are engaging in the pattern of conduct. She's engaged in surveillance, trying to hide around the vehicle. She's engaged in surveillance. She's a psychopath. All right, parked in the OVITT Family Community Library parking lot, studying her communication device, engaging in surveillance with the demon that's aiming light over there. These are demons that are stalking, engaging in the P.O.C, and doing so, again, this is also exposing what is homosexual predatory conduct, women that are stalking me obsessively. There are also women that seek out my bodily fluids, women that stalk me in the bathroom on behalf of the government, that's stalking me. Again, you are aware of it. That ongoing obsessive stalking includes helicopter activity, and they are also stalking in the bathroom. And that demon that's stalking at the intersection with that light activity, let me read you that demon's light activity, because this demon that's in the OVITT Family Community Library is maintaining surveillance while these demons are pacing at the intersection. Okay, so they're acting together. That is license plate 9NYH399, stalking with the demon 36164R1, who's just sitting there, maintaining light activity, while 9R, and I can't really see that one, NO971 is what it looked like. 1438317, that's City of Ontario. The City of Ontario is already prosecuted. License 9FHW154, 9HET451, this is demonic pacing, while that demon license plate 36164R1 maintaining surveillance, and this psychopath in the parking lot is maintaining surveillance as well, and the OVITT Family Community Library parking lot, and trying to run around the vehicle. This is somebody that's, what are you running around the vehicle for? I've never seen her before, never met her. This is a demon that knows that I'm documenting. License 65807 Sam 3, license 8RCH002, 6YWD925, 8GDK882, sorry. And this is all with the demons that are stalking by helicopter for 5 minutes. They're all stalking with that Ontario Police Department. This is Mike Lorenz and Derek Williams' prosecution as terrorists. 8VJZ906. And these are all the demons that are going to be prosecuted. 9JPR463. This is a citywide effort. It's a statewide effort. The people of the state are going to be prosecuted as terrorists in the state of California. Okay? Not just these demons whose license plates I'm reading. It's not just them. Okay? So I just want to be clear. The demons that are sharing in what is maintaining presence in the environment with light 36164R1, and this Asian female 8TJA082, they're surrounding at the corner. She's attempted to do so inconspicuously in the parking lot at OVIT, and this demon is conspicuously doing so, where, again, inconspicuous is recognized by being right in my path, being documented as well. These stalkers are obsessed, and as you document them stalking, they continue stalking. In fact, they engage in more stalking using helicopters and planes over the top of your head and flying in circles and psychopathic pacing, okay? But those are the two that are maintaining at that intersection. That's the cooperative effort to stalk with light. That's mental illness. 3PKK482 shares it. 9AMV226 shares it. 9BDB838 shares it. This is the entity that's maintaining surveillance on behalf of the government. ANIML52. These are not private citizens. These are third parties acting in conformity to the state's pattern of conduct. Gang stalking at what is 217 D Street. P.O.C. That's license again. 9BDB838. 217 D Street is gang stalking with the City of Ontario. I want you to hear that plane activity. It's not over the F Street in Euclid where I'm at. Stalking over here. In concert with 7PWS087, 6TSW725, 8WWF581, conspiring murder, sex offenders, engaging in sexual assault and battery. Okay, co-conspirators of murder together. That's the state and the entity that's engaged in the pattern of conduct. They're all doing this in concert with what is the terrorist agency, Ontario Police Department. And Mike Lorenz is going to be federally prosecuted, and so is Derek Williams. Regardless of the 2020 resignation, you're not resigning from a federal case that I have been building while he's fully engaged in still gang stalking. Okay, license 9TUA417, gang stalking, and doing so regularly. Serial stalker at 434 North Euclid Avenue. 8JDM309. License 76828X3. That is Berg Electric. They're engaged in the pattern of conduct on the roads and the highways, and they are engaged in the pattern of conduct now. They're a corrupt business, and licensure that is acquired to maintain a business is lost upon engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring, and that's also going to be a matter of public information. Businesses prosecuted as terrorists, businesses prosecuted as sex offenders as an entity, businesses engaged in what is stalking, businesses that don't maintain any constitutional right to even exist, by the way, businesses prosecuted for criminal activity. 7S72337. Securitas is stalking in the path, all right, just like they are stalking me with impossible light while I'm pulling up damning video. That's a demon. Okay, another iteration of stalking with impossible light is stalking with the method of flashing light, which is what they're doing, sitting on the golf cart with light activity. 8JYX842. Securitas has been engaged in years of kidnapping. Securitas at Ontario Town Square, kidnapping with the Ontario Police, and the Ontario International Airport. Securitas at OVITT Family Community Library, engaging in kidnapping with the Ontario Police. 7HDH892 and the Ontario International Airport. The University of Laverne, they're a gang stalking institution full of demons. You don't need any demons in the practice of law, by the way, and you are not going to sit for the California bar. There will be extensive investigation into those that are part of gang stalking me and having gone on already taken the bar. Including those that are engaged in the so-called study of law at this institution while this pattern of conduct has been underway, because you're not going to be a part of the California bar. You're not practicing law, and if you are, you're not going to continue. 82711U2. You're not going to continue. I said that and I meant that, and that's exactly what's going to happen. 6GFH554. And stalking me by helicopter activity is your loss of licensure in the state of California, 02518U3. And it is speaking to how you are unfit to practice law in any state, by the way. 9LTN498. The line is terrorism. And you are engaged in terrorism while you are gang stalking in the city of Ontario, which is exactly what you're doing, sitting in any classroom at University of Laverne College of Law, where I've also documented that to make sure that there's no question. That's why the Ontario Police is flying over the top of my head in circles while the fake sun is over me at the University of Laverne College of Law under the fake sun. License 9JJX251. You will not be practicing law. 9KAA768. 5R27926. Your mental illness is going to be made also public information. Your loss of licensure, your inability to practice law, public information for terrorism. Get ready, because this is far-reaching. Just like you went to the extent to stalk me with helicopter for 5 minutes, I'm going to prosecute a whole police department and a terrorist that's hiding under the guise of a police chief. And I'm also coming for your California bar licensure. License 14036A3. 5ULV778. You are not practicing law in California or in any state. No terrorists are practicing law. License plate 9SSC027. License plate 15151D4 T792Y6, I believe, and that's out of state. I believe that's Iowa. It's an orange plate. I believe it's Iowa, something like that, but it's out of state. Nonetheless, it's on a white Tesla. And corrupt institutions like University of Laverne College of Law that can barely hold on to licensure in the first place, they're not even fit to exist. Basically, a gang stalking institution for the practice of law. Are you kidding me? It needs to be shut down. It's a criminal institution, and you are totally unfit to engage in the instruction of law while you're violating the law. Okay? It doesn't get any more clear than that. License J387MO, gang stalking with the City of Ontario that's crossing path, 45522S2, 9FCM218, 02730L2, 6ZUR519, 8S91428, and Heritage window coverings. License plate 34418J2, stalking, sitting in the vehicle crossing path with me. Okay, and so the entity that is, again, hostile and has a lot of animosity toward the ways in which it's going to be prosecuted, how it does not like hearing what's going to happen, and that's exactly what's going to happen. You're not keeping a California bar. If you thought that you were exempted, you thought while I'm being gang stalked at the Ontario Town Square with helicopters, you thought while they're summoning the Ontario Police and I'm at computer station number 1 and you're at the in class studying civil procedure at the University of Laverne College of Law, and you're unaffected by that while you're in relevant position, gang stalking under the fake sun, that's your mistake, because you're not going to practice law. I guarantee it. License 5NUZ512, and it's going to be public information. Everybody that's engaged in gang stalking is going to be publicly exposed for gang stalking. None of this is happening in secret. None of it is going to remain a secret. It's already not a secret, and it's going to get even more far-reaching. P.O.C. License plate. City Hall is gang stalking, maintaining light activity. License 1652113. This is P.O.C. That's, again, the policies whereby you are targeting domestic terrorists. Terrorists that are acting as a whole community. Terrorists that are acting as a whole city. Terrorists that are acting as a whole state. You're unfit to be, you're not going to be any gang stalking terrorist that's practicing law at the same time. You're out of your mind. That's why you're gang stalking. That's why you thought no one was going to know that you're gay. That's why you're still gang stalking while it's being published on the internet. And you think that you're not going to be remembered in that prosecution. Yes, you are. You're not an attorney. That has an actual meaning. You are morally unfit. That's a turpitude issue. You will not be practicing law. You will not be practicing law. It is currently 7:50 a.m. This is P.O.C. Securitas, this is the demon that wears the mop on her head, the African American, the one that does, they don't believe in Black Lives Matter out here. It's audible activity to the demons in California, okay? So just so that you know, the African American community that have had their lives taken by law enforcement, and you are not a demon that's engaging in this secret system. You are legitimately making an outcry regarding what is actual and perceived injustice, because it is actual. Right, but it's also a misperception of what's actually the bigger picture about what's going on. The black people in California could not care less. Okay, that's why they're buying mansions with the money that was given to that campaign regarding Black Lives Matter. They could not care less. They're demons. They're gang stalking with corrupt law enforcement agencies like LAPD and Ontario Police. They could not care less. Black people are targeting other black people. It doesn't get any more clear. They do not care about actual Black Lives Matter. They don't even know what that means. It's audible activity to demons that don't understand that being under the fake sun is a clear-cut prosecution. But anyway, that's the demon that wears a mop on her head. She's also wearing a Securitas uniform while the Ontario International Airport is stalking, where Paul Leon is going to be publicly removed from office for this reason of gang stalking. And it is currently 7:52 a.m. She's mentally ill. She's stalking with light, and she's pacing around while the entity stalks with plane activity as I approach the Ontario City Hall parking lot on the opposite side. I've been documenting the pattern of conduct for years. The fake sunrise and set of the Ontario City Hall is a matter of record, including in 2025, where I'm at Metro 102, and if you're looking at a map, then you know that this neighborhood. 303 East B Street is the 215 East C Street is OVITT Family Community Library. 224 North Euclid Avenue, you're looking at a map. This is the same Civic Center. Okay, so you're talking about B Street, Euclid Avenue, C Street. You're talking about Sultana around the University of Laverne, the Ontario Fire Department, which those demons wasted money and given those terrorists a different structure. They're not staying in that either. They're being removed. But nonetheless, this is the same venue where I'm capturing the fake sun at 7 in the morning, and United Airlines, Southwest Airlines, UPS are repeatedly hovering over the roof of the Metro 102 apartments during the 7 a.m. hour, and I'm showing you the fake sun that's appearing on the corner. As I'm in that parking lot of Metro 102, it's along the corner along B Street. That's where the City Hall is. And I'm also documenting that fake sun over the top of my head standing at the Ontario City Hall at 12:51 in the afternoon. I've documented, as a matter of documentation, the fake sun on that same street, B Street, that I'm facing right now. This is the entity that's already surrounded the gang stalking mayor who was unfit for office, Paul Leon, and every gang stalker on that Ontario City Council, including the newest recruit of demons of engaging in terrorism, Daisy. They're all going to be removed, and they're going to be removed as terrorists, exposed for what they are. For what they are doing. Secrecy is no more. You're not going to quietly just disappear and they're going to talk, oh, they had health concern and they had to go take care of their grandma. That's why they retired. No, it's going to be a matter of public information. You were engaged in during your time in office terrorism. And the world, the public needs to know that. They are going to know it. You don't have any right to any privacy for engaging in terrorism. This is the hypocrisy in the United States that's going to be shattered while you are publicly exposed. The entities engaged in what is gang stalking at the Ontario City Hall under the fake sunrise and sunset is the documentation exposing the terrorist Paul Leon, 6RDZ853, and the mental illness of that entire office, all right, in this municipality. 217-63C4, 09366 Frank 2, 48773 B3. That's Ardura. Collaborate, innovate, create. They're gang stalkers. It's a corrupt company. 9JZW951. They like to sound so lofty and so ethereal, and so they're gang stalking, vagina monitoring, corrupt companies. That's it. Surveillance. 9FNZ754. Marina is gang stalking. This is another corrupt business. License 66835Z2. And they're gang stalking, sponsored by the government. And sponsorship by the state is shown while the government is stalking with helicopters in concert with them. It's shown while the government is stalking with commercial planes in that specific environment with them. That is the entity that is engaged in that pattern of conduct. And Marina is licensure, license number 492862. That's exactly what is in jeopardy while gang stalking as a business. You're not keeping that, and it's public information as to why you're not keeping it, and the fact that you're a terrorist in this country. It is currently 7:55 a.m. This is P.O.C. License plate M760HO, gang stalking on B Street, 71553G2, 7MUE916, 5MNZO52, 9TOE038, 22196E3, 9TPF570. This is all mental illness. Walking right into the city hall, mentally ill, corrupt government conduct while they're employed for a gang stalking city, a gang stalking municipality. Mental illness fills that office. License 5UAF144, license 9KIM510, AWMP700, and it's not just mental illness, but that's relevant because it's speaking to how unfit the entity that is placed itself in position. It's criminal, it's corrupt. 8NMH949. Okay, maintaining light activity. Sunbelt Rentals. License BSER97. I'm going to read this again. Hurrying up to meet at the intersection, which is a stalker and a mentally ill one. License BSER97. All right, Sunbelt Rentals. Again, another corrupt business. Engaging what is stalking with light activity. While I'm on Lemon Avenue, at the ARCO, at the... in the parking lot, and the demons are stalking with plain activity. They are around the perimeter over here at the town square, stalking with light activity. Sunbelt Rentals is a corrupt business. Griffith Companies, Herc Rentals, United Rentals, Leonida Builders Incorporated, these little mom and pop companies like Leonida, and even to the bigger ones, that they're all going to be prosecuted equally, and you're also going to be treated equally under the law. And there is no amount of damages that you're going to negotiate out of a criminal prosecution. License 80122J3. This is going to be used to establish precedent. You're not negotiating out of a criminal prosecution. All right, of a business, not at all. You're not negotiating out of it. License plate, but you will be civilly prosecuted as well. License, this is Sunbelt Rentals. Again, that license plate is 80122J3. All right, and all they're doing is parking their vehicles, maintaining light activity. This is mental illness. All right, a whole bunch of mentally ill people wearing hard hats. Gang stalking. License 8VAT304. This is mental illness, and this is the basis of deportation. Okay, ICE has plenty to work with. Plenty to work with. This is gang stalking, and it's mental illness. They're a threat to the public. You're going to deport the mentally ill. You're going to deport the corrupt gang stalkers conspiring murder. And they work for companies like Sunbelt Rentals, like Brightview, Leonida Builders Incorporated, license 07257N1. You hear that plain activity? That's state-sponsored terrorism. P.O.C. Wearing a hard hat, this is what's wrong with the demons of the Ontario Police and the Fire Department. They think when they put on their costumes that because they look like they're doing something, that they're doing anything different, and they're not. 07257N1, it's a costume. It's P.O.C. 03366W3. Engaging in construction where the fake sun rises and sets, it's P.O.C. Brightview. License plate 11423C4, and the entity stalking by plane right here where I'm taking pictures of all these demons wearing hard hats representing these companies. 8YGW351, and this is, again, Ontario, City of Ontario, where they're stalking with 5+ minutes by helicopter. Brightview, these commercial vehicles right here, they're stalking with that same agency that's on video and on podcast stalking. They're doing so with the government. Coming out here wearing costumes, because that's what it is. It's Halloween for these demons wearing hard hats and neon jackets. They're dressed up, and they're demons that are gang stalking. Brightview and Sunbelt Rentals engaging in what is the demonic pattern of conduct, light activity, and stalking in the path. It's P.O.C. And you're going to prosecute the business. You're going to prosecute the business's employees. You're going to deport those that are not natural-born citizens. You're going to prosecute those businesses for facilitation of terrorism because their employees are engaged in gang stalking. They're facilitating terrorism. You're not going to remain as a business engaging in that. License 11423C4, that's Brightview. License 8NGP422, P.O.C. All right, the demon monitoring my vagina in the bathroom yesterday afternoon. The African American that's on the first floor, you see him running toward the staircase. He's stalking in the bathroom, the male restroom, with 8LXU678 monitoring my vagina outside of the building. The entity is doing so while they are keeping me under surveillance, and he's engaged in surveillance right now as well. He's a psychopath. He's also a violent sex offender, okay? Keeping my vagina under surveillance inside of the OVITT Family Community Library, in concert with Abigail and John, and in concert with Yesenia, all the employees that engage in criminal summoning, stating, oh, you're yelling at people in the bathroom. I'm not even talking to anybody in the bathroom. The entity's engaged in what is monitoring me with the demons that are stalking me with helicopters for 5+ minutes. And then you're engaging in what is coming in my face and making up lies because you're scared of my documentation. And be clear, stalking me for 5+ minutes with helicopter, that was an act of fear. But it's also an act of terrorism. And it is reasonably striking fear in the targeted individual, the ordinary targeted individual. I'm going to prosecute. Mike LORENZ is going to prison for it because there's a documented body of evidence showing that he is targeting as an agency. He's going to prison. License 6BNU400 is a documented sex offender, a serial sex crime agent of the city of Ontario, of the state, okay? Serial sex crime agent. License 6CAD311. This P.O.C. It's currently 8:01 a.m. at the Ontario Town Square. License plate 9NYS333. Stalking in the path and driving at the C Street turn circle. You're never going to touch me with your headlights while I'm sitting at the wall of the Ontario Town Square. That's a demon stalking during the day. And at nightfall, they're also stalking with light. That's what United Rentals is adding in. They're engaging in that P.O.C. These are demons that are engaging in one is stalking and doing so, exhibiting mental illness. And they're doing so on behalf of the city of Ontario that it was at the same property stalking for 5+ minutes using helicopter activity while all of the demons are engaging in the same pattern of conduct. That's why you document. It's not different the next morning. Not at all. P.O.C. Good morning. Are they doing like something with the trees or something over here? The United Rentals is? United Rentals, they're going to trim or something? Or? Oh, okay. So it's okay for me to sit over here then, right? Because they were trimming last time and it got all over everything.
That you'd be okay. I don't see them trimming. They're just gonna put the lights
up. Okay, that's cool. All right, thank you. Oh, okay, for decorating. That's fine. That is the third-party Securitas who is gang stalking with United Rentals. That's criminal presence in the path. That's ongoing pacing. This is the same demon that engaged in kidnapping on September 28, 2025. And the reason why I contained myself is because he's going to prison. So you can hear on the podcast the battery that I was subject to because of him. And because of demons like this third party at Wells Fargo. License 17352R2. And license 8VXF855. She's a psychopath. You can see her moving her vehicle while the fake sun is shining. Last week, an engineer light moves on the sidewalk. That's a demon. Okay, that's what you refer to as a succubus. Okay, she's a demon and she's a psychopath and she's engaged in gang stalking while she wants to appear to be somebody that's on her job at the bank, the gang stalking bank, Wells Fargo. Okay, this is the entity that doesn't have a life, it doesn't have a purpose, it doesn't have an existence. It's engaged in what is monitoring me, and I'm going to prosecute her for it. It is currently 8:04 a.m. P.O.C. License 8VDJ811. Stalking with a demon that's maintaining light in front of me. 9TUA639. This is mental illness shared by demons who are all stalking. 8HKP318. And license looks like 5857753 or 51. I'll see it in a minute. This demon goes to his vehicle to engage in what is stalking in the path. As I take a seat at the OVITT Family Community Library, a demon is stalking in the path by getting into their vehicle that's parked in alignment to you. That's how you're recognizing targeting, its relevant positioning. This is what the demons do when they fly over the apartment building while I'm seated in front of that building. This is what the demons do when they keep a fake sun over this apartment building at 8 in the morning, and then you see it still over the OVITT Family Community Library, which is the same alignment at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it's over that apartment building again at 6 p.m. when I come out of the OVITT Family Community Library. That's called stalking, and the path is what the demons are doing with light and with presence while they maintain noise. Stalking with planes, helicopters, amplified train, Union Pacific is going to be prosecuted. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C. and it's mental illness. It's also mental illness why they practice this as a population. a population of sick people who are obsessively stalking. All right, City of Ontario, again, that has the fake sun outside of the Ontario City Hall. These are the domestic terrorists that they can't even competently empty the garbage. They're stalking while doing that. License 1728466, vehicle 9200. City of Ontario are demons stalking with light and noise. Psychopaths. And violent sex offenders monitoring my vagina while inside of my hotel rooms, like what's on record at Economy Inn, like what's on record at Woodside Senior Apartments. And stalking me on the roads and the highways while I'm walking around. The entity keeping the fake sun. That's beginning terrorism surveillance by Paul Leon and that office. The incompetence of municipality employees that they have one job, which is to empty the garbage. They're not engaging in that. They're engaging in surveillance. This is license plate. Getting in the path to engage in what is a means of activity creation, stalking obsessively. License 8CBA 689, and this demon with the white pickup truck, the Tacoma. This is license plate. Let's see, 58537 Frank 1, P.O.C. It is 8:11 a.m. All right, mental illness, 8JOZ611, stalking, and 9AQK256, pacing in front of me while the demons operating a vehicle attributing criminal surveillance to Paul Leon and the Ontario City Hall are stalking with amplified noise. That's mental illness by the entity that is engaged in a psychopathic and demented pattern of conduct. And it's always bearing a poor reflection on the population themselves. This is the population that is stalking in a helicopter flying over the top of my head, speaking to obsession with me, speaking to maniacal intent and behavior that is psychotic while they are stalking. This is another iteration of that same stalking conduct. And those stalkers that are using helicopters, that's getting to Mike LORENZ and Derek Williams, who are going to be prosecuted as terrorists, facilitating and maintaining surveillance and furtherance of murder in the city of Ontario and through that agency in concert. They're all acting in concert with that agency right now. It's 8:12 a.m. License plate 64471 Frank 4. That's 64471 Frank 4. And again, Sarah's Regis Group is gang stalking. License plate 9MSL575, driving right into the facilitating venue, Sarah's Regis Group, that is going to be federally prosecuted. Sarah's Regis Group is downtown Ontario luxury apartments, fake sunrise and set. All right, documented on the record. And the parking garage, a covered structure, no sunlight is going to appear in there. Not only do I have the fake sun aimed on me inside of that garage, but engineer light covering the roof. License 9VRN305. Those are demons, and Sarah's Regis Group is entirely corrupt. They are surrounded. They've been bullied, if you will, with evidence, and I'm going to prosecute them civilly and criminally. And they're engaging in surveillance while the demon possessed, engaged in what is presence around, engaging in what is gang stalking you at that venue, outside of that venue, around. You're going to prosecute. And I've also given you the evidence showing they're not innocent victims. They're directly engaging in the pattern of conduct, and that's actually what's reasonably the case within a pattern of conduct. Yes, you are across the street. You're sharing in that P.O.C. These demons are delusional. Oh, I'm over here. I'm not looking at you. I'm not talking to you. I'm looking over there. I'm dealing with this. I'm not a gang stalker. I don't know what you're talking about. These demons are delusional. Their mental illness has caught them in an unprecedented criminal system. Because of their mental illness, the ability for me to prosecute them. It's literally providence that they're mentally ill. And their mental illness is that of a psychopathic disorder, okay, antisocial disorder, delusional, okay, with regard to them playing in witchcraft that's going to multiply in intensity and come and attack them. Okay, because these are demons that are engaging in dark spirituality while they're engaging in criminal conduct, which is also manifesting in what is their diagnosis for mental illness, because they're living amongst illusions. And there's going to be a crashing reality when you're in federal court, and I'm going to prosecute you as a terrorist. Mike LORENZ and Derek Williams. It is 8:15 a.m. License plate coming out of Sarah's Regis Group, 320 North Euclid Avenue. Everyone in there is gang stalking. The entire apartment complex is going to be prosecuted. 9F
9TFK457. They will be prosecuted with regard to gang stalking with the Ontario Police that it provided 5+ minutes evidence of this entire city stalking while the Ontario Police Department maintained helicopter activity flying in circles over my head while I am publishing evidence on the internet about being targeted by the City of Ontario. Sarah's Regis Group is going to be prosecuted with that evidence. License plate. Alright, this chunky one, license 9MFJ887. License plate 8TNZ684. 8:18 a.m. That's an African American male. City of Ontario 1563292. Again, this is all going toward what is the necessary removal of terrorists like Paul Leon and the Ontario City Council. They're engaged in surveillance. License plate, the people of the state. Stalking with the government is what this is. BTZD70. That looks like a red, green, and yellow license plate. A white male driving a black pickup truck. That's a Nissan truck. It's 8:19 a.m. I want to say, yeah, that's an out-of-state plate. It's black, yellow, and red. P.O.C. License plate 7THT260. 7THT260. License 48904G4. That's the demon stalking with light activity. Securitas is maintaining light activity in between the City Hall while these demons are pacing in front of me. And the entity is stalking at Metro 102 with light activity. 7YTL479. This is mental illness. They're acting cooperatively, maintaining light activity, and engaged in psychopathic pacing. It's 8:20 a.m. All right, and the entity gang stalking OVITT Family Community Library using the book drop as a means of stalking in the path, light activity creation, engaging in surveillance, that is. Again, that third party's license plate, it is BTZD70. That's a New Mexico plate. P.O.C. Same African American male, license 8TNZ684, crossing path again. That's in a white, old, used Mercedes. He's stalking. It is 8:21 a.m. License plate 7MTS824. Gang stalking at Sarah's Regis Group, downtown Ontario luxury apartments, 320 North Euclid Avenue. It's 8:23 a.m. (9JTZ829) stalking with the Ontario International Airport. It is 8:49 a.m. Okay, the entity that I'm documenting at the Ontario Town Square, maintaining serial flight, which I documented upon my exit of the OVITT Family Community Library, the location where I'm at now, from the Ontario Town Square where the fake sun set, and the entity is documenting keeping the fake sun rise as well. Crossing path right now at 9:22 a.m. is 8P43683, stalking with the Ontario International Airport that's maintaining flight now over the C Street turn circle where these demons are pacing. And they're traditionally doing it under the fake sun. They are still engaged in the pattern of stalking in the path and maintaining a method of light and doing so with the entity that's not flying over the Ontario Town Square. They're flying right here next to me. Again, like when I'm at the bus stop, they're flying next to me. When I go up to the Pizza Hut at Euclid and G Street, they're flying next to me. When I am in Tracy Banks' apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments, they're flying next to me. And there are no departures, any sort of flights, where 8DHK473 is doing anything other than stalking in the path with that government that's using planes to maintain stalking conduct in that environment. And that's what I want to document. This is where the entity is engaged in what is stalking with the corrupt companies that I'm documenting. So let me just recite again, because I documented them engaging in the P.O.C. They're maintaining light activity, stalking with the airport. That is indeed engaging what is stalking. And remember, they're not just stalking at the square. That's the identification of the venue. They're stalking in concert with the demons that are present, providing a form of
light activity, they're doing so wherever I'm located at the square. So their stalking and their positioning, relevant positioning, is relative to where I am located. Hence the phrase relevant positioning. Okay, stalking in the path. This is the criminal purpose of the City of Ontario, and also what is Brightview, as well as the entity that is maintaining the light activity, wearing the hard hats, putting up, they're engaging in, they're always providing some sort of service at the Ontario Town Square, the landscaping, the tree trimming, the just being there, putting water in the grass is literally what the City of Ontario does. They just stand there. License 48775E2. They're engaging in what is activity creation while the entity is engaged in surveillance with planes and helicopters, and the demon-possessed people of the state are all under the fake sun, all amongst impossible light activity, all stalking with the method of light. It's the same P.O.C, okay, with this light conduct and presence, and the state that's engaging in its pattern of conduct with the people. The entity is stalking with commercial planes, is my point. While I'm seated at the side of the OVITT Family Community Library, that's where the demons are concentrating plane activity, not flying in the middle of the property next to the clock where I'm sitting at the wall. Okay, that's what's relevant with regard to the demons whose license plate that I'm reciting, and the light activity and criminal presence in the path. That's the corrupt businesses that are engaging in what is criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder. They are engaged in public corruption. This is P.O.C. at the OVITT Family Community Library, where they're engaged in what is monitoring me in relevant position at the Ontario Town Square, the Downtown Ontario Luxury Apartments, the 280 North Limit Apartments, the Metro 102 Apartments, the Wells Fargo, all the venues that are surrounding, in concert with what are the demons on the roads and the highways who are pacing all around. It's all centered around me, and you are getting a very vivid image of that when the entity keeps a fake sun over me from sunrise till sunset. P.O.C. License plate 5SQY189. P.O.C. Stalking 83620L1 with the Caucasian male who's stalking in front of the OVITT Family Community Library. These are the pathetic demons that are engaged in stalking, making false allegations about their fear because I'm publishing evidence about them stalking, and they're doing so while they're engaging in what is surrounding, trying to stop, which they're not going to stop. I just document them monitoring on the video. It's so pathetic what these demons are doing, but they're going to prison and they're going to mental asylums. But the entities engaged in monitoring on the internet, standing in front of the OVITT Family Community Library, which is how you're engaged in stalking. Wells Fargo is stalking. 8BWH806 is stalking. 6LMT607 is stalking. And they're engaged in an ongoing campaign trying to slow down. This is the podcast that's going up about this entity that is engaged in sexual assault and battery. 5ZHN582 and stalking with the Ontario police that flew over at this venue for 6 minutes. They're all stalking, and every establishment is stalking. And now they're sitting around monitoring, engaging in surveillance on the internet in furtherance of murder, obstruction of justice, exhibiting mental illness. Gang stalkers are going to be prosecuted with regard to their mental illness that is proven upon their criminal engagement in the P.O.C. as a corrupt government. It is 9:39 a.m. This is monitoring in concert with the government on the Wi-Fi, where the Ontario airport is stalking by planes here, engaging in surveillance with them, sitting around aiming light. So I'm going to show you what mental illness is. Show you what this is right here. The entity that's engaging in what is stalking in the path is doing so as a mentally ill population, aiding in the criminal conduct of the government that's maintaining a surveillance system that is in operation to engage in what is murdering an American citizen. And they do that with immigrants that are being deported. All right, it is currently 9:40 a.m. Okay, so what you're seeing at 9:50 a.m., first of all, is mental illness. These are demons that are engaged in the cooperative act of aiming light in the engineered environment, which is accomplishing what is monitoring online, okay? The entity's doing this with Saris Regis Group, doing so with DMC, license 020794. These are demons that are engaging in what is stalking in the path, license 5ZHN582, and they're doing so with Wells Fargo. You hear the noise in the background? This demon has the light aimed strategically over here, talking about their sensor. The entity does the same thing with the tow truck that creates light activity. They do so under the fake sun. While you're seeing the failure of the upload on the Ontario Wi-Fi at the venue where the Ontario police is stalking for 6 minutes, flying in a helicopter over the top of my head, these are demons that are also immigrants that are going to be deported for terrorism and furtherance of murder while they're gang stalking. License 020794, engaging what is pulling up your hood while you're stalking in the path with light, doing so under the fake sun, doing so where the fake sun rises and sets, is the entity that is maliciously engaging in what is gang stalking and furtherance of murder. The gang stalking immigrants are being deported without question out of this country. Wells Fargo is engaging the P.O.C. while demons are on that property aiming light. It includes license plate 53444 Edward 4. They're engaging what is aiming light. They have what is U.S. Army, I just want to be clear, on the windshield. However relevant that is to this demon that's engaging what is the operation of that vehicle to engage in criminal monitoring online with the intent to obstruct justice. Wells Fargo is located at 240 North Euclid Avenue. They are gang stalking. Their employees are monitoring. They're engaged in an ongoing psychopathic and demented, short-sighted effort. It's going on the internet. While I'm showing you the failure, you're looking at the purpose of them aiming light. While they're stalking with light, they're exhibiting mental illness. 9FMD 502 7213092. These are psychopaths that are really seriously like, I'm going to pull out a wrench and pull up my hood. And so that's supposed to be less than the pattern of conduct. The entity is stalking with planes and helicopters. The entity is at the property where the fake sun rises and sets. The demons have already surrounded themselves with evidence. You're looking at the serial stalker that is wearing the same brown hoodie, gang stalking in the black beanie and the black jeans. Carlos, who's engaged in gang stalking furtherance of murdering me and doing so on a serial basis. That's federal prison. While he's engaged in what is that ongoing effort of what is gang stalking. This is an entity that's acting together. I took a picture of the failed upload of the podcast. This is what an entity is engaged in. I document the failures. That's criminal monitoring. It's not an actual failure. The entity is monitoring on the internet. 8MJX155, and that's to get away with what is silencing someone that they are trying to murder while they're stalking them. 7VAA581, a very serious federal offense. It's obstruction of justice. License 7CBF557, and that is the prosecution of Mike Lorenz and that agency. They're doing this on behalf of that terrorist group that is engaging in what is leading in kidnapping. It's through corrupt law enforcement agencies that are engaged in surveillance. That's the prosecution of Mike Lorenz. License 6CAD311, 14W3428. License 8ZYE490. This is the demon stalker with light. License 9CPV241. Aiding in what I'm documenting is the failure on the internet. There are psychopaths sitting around stalking with light. 17811M3. Brightview, license 8Z01076. That's a psychopath getting out of the vehicle, gang stalking. Again, the entity that's engaging with this mental illness, the stalking with light, they're doing so while the government maintains plane and helicopter activity, and the demon possessed are just pacing all around. It's not traffic, it's surveillance. And they're all engaging in that together. Exhibit A. All right, Marina, Brightview, stalking. These are the businesses that are engaging in surveillance. They're maintaining light activity. While the entity is flying right over, so I'm taking a picture of the gray skies in Brightview, Marina, stalking in the path. This is P.O.C. And they're engaged in what is surveillance on behalf of the government. That evidence goes on the internet. This is the same property where the Ontario police are routinely engaged in surveillance, flying in circles over me. Now flying in circles over the demons that are running in the grass in front. They're not flying in circles over the amphitheater. They're flying in circles over my head, and they did so for 5 minutes, not coincidentally, while I'm also documenting and taking pictures of Mike Lorenz, a domestic terrorist, who's going to be infamous as a prosecuted domestic terrorist. Derek Williams going to be infamous with regard to being a documented prosecuted domestic terrorist, facilitating public corruption and furtherance of murdering American citizens, which Mike Lorenz intended while targeting me with Tracy Banks, targeting me with Jason Isaac Fields, targeting me with the federal government that is engaged in what is maintaining a criminal surveillance system in order to obstruct justice, because I maintain my own investigation exposing the government targeting. And also, while they have been targeting me since I was a child, these demons engaging in what is a criminal monitoring system in concert with the people of the state, psychopaths that are stalking and then going to maintain surveillance inside of the OVITT family community library, where they all walk around on engineer light. They're all walking around with their shadows appearing on the first floor in what is engineer light for, where they're all engaging in what is surveillance with that entity, okay? Monitoring my vagina. Masses of sex offenders, all of them engaging in that. And they're doing so while they are keeping the evidence under surveillance on behalf of terrorists like what is Mike Lorenz, the agency that's gang stalking. Okay, this is P.O.C. It's currently 9:56 a.m. Anthesis 7BDZ210, bringing the mentally incapacitated to place them in the path to engage in activity creation. It's like putting babies in the path to create activity. That's what Anthesis is doing while they are abusing positions, and they're actually engaged in abusing the mentally incompetent that are engaging in what is activity creation in the specific environment that OVITT Family Community Library and the demons, who are the people of the state, maintain while they're gang stalking. I'm going to take a documentation of the entity that brings them here to engage in monitoring under the fake sun with the government that's stalking by planes and helicopters. This is the abuse of the demon possessed of those that are the vulnerable in the population. They do that with minor children as well, engaging in sexual violence with them. These are psychopaths that are engaged in what they're incompetent in being in the medical field. They're a threat to people in the medical field. And this is an example, a prime example, while they're engaged in what is bringing them to sit in the path, while they engage in the involuntary body movements, for example, any sort of outbursts. I just want to be clear also, these conditions is not limiting the same demon possession. They're engaged in the same pattern of conduct, but Anthesis is a terrorist that's engaging in sexual violence, engaging in criminal facilitation, and bringing the mentally incapacitated to just seat them in the path, engage in monitoring. And I also want to be clear, the entity is exhibiting malice in that. All the ways in which you see the pattern of conduct, it's always reflecting poorly on the target and on the, not the target individual, but the entity that is monitoring the documentation. So you place children in the path, you place the mentally incompetent in the path, and that's showing the ways in which you are engaging in the pattern of conduct. The entity is engaging in what is the P.O.C. while they're engaging in nothing other than gang stalking under the fake sun. And they are intentionally placing this population in your face for you to see them engaging in gang stalking. Okay, it's reflecting poorly on Anthesis. Those are psychopaths that have no business any part and any aspect of the medical field, just like every other MD that I've documented, just like any other so-called psychiatrist. They're demons. This is P.O.C., and this is the entity that's engaging in abusing those that are in that state, while Anthesis is engaging in what is driving them to engage in criminal activity. P.O.C. Excuse me. Good morning. What's your name? Alexander. Hi, Alexander. Have a good day. Alexander is severely mentally ill. He does a lot of pacing. He's a big boy. And that being a big boy does not stop him from pacing in and out from the circulation desk back to the administration door, monitoring me with audible noise and engineered light. That's mental illness that is exhibited while the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct and is concentrated inside of a building. All right, that's P.O.C. And what is ironic is that the entity is bringing the so-called mentally ill to engage in the pattern of conduct when the demon-possessed, they share in mental illness. They're all mentally ill. They're psychopaths that are bringing the mentally incompetent, that engage in involuntary body movements, if you will. But I just also want to get something clear. That is not any sort of preclusion with regard to demon possession and the demonic pattern of conduct. The so-called mentally ill, as the demon-possessed, like to create some sort of distinction amongst themselves. While they're all mentally ill, they're engaging in what is bringing those that are recognized, for example, having Down syndrome or having like Tourette's or some sort of condition where you are engaged, because a lot of them are engaging in what appears to be involuntary physical movements and speech gibberish while they're creating activity. The demons of the OVITT Family Community Library have engineered light all over the floor, the fake sun over the venue. They're monitoring. While these psychopaths who are equally mentally ill are engaging in psychopathic pacing in and out of doorways, monitoring genitalia, while they're engaging in what is presence and engineered light under a fake sun. And they are concentrating it, all of that P.O.C. that I captured outside, inside of a building. All of them together, the demon possessed. Okay, it's demonic activity and it's criminal surveillance. And there is a very superficial distinction amongst the demon possessed who are all mentally ill. And them being in positions in the medical field where you're looking at them posing a threat, not only to children that are activity creators, but also the mentally incompetent. They are not driving themselves here. Anthesis is driving them here, placing them in the path, engaging in surveillance, wanting you to see them engaging in criminal conduct. Anthesis is going to be prosecuted. The same entity is going to be prosecuted, but you're looking at the decisions that the entity makes, engaging in the P.O.C. That's deliberate conduct. They know they're being documented. It's P.O.C. It's 10:02 a.m. Just a note, the entity that engaged in what is blocking the podcast, where Spotify stated, oh, we are having an issue on our end, an issue that they did not tell any of the creators on Spotify about, no announcements on the website, no emails sent about it, nothing about it until I, of my own diligence contacted Spotify, which is again relevant to what is being monitored, including by Spotify. You're talking to any manner, any demon, any bot on the opposite side, representing themselves as a Spotify representative, engaging what is helping you with any sort of complications that you're having. So be mindful of that. But also, Spotify is not under any circumstances stating where I'm unable to publish my podcast, and you have creators that are making a lot of money and subscribers that are paying money, and then you have a platform like Spotify that's not speaking to any amount of people that are not able to use the platform. So that was not published when Spotify is admittedly speaking to having complications. Spotify can say something about it, admit it or not admit it. It's the pattern of conduct. This same pattern of conduct is underway, and it is the ongoing interference with the ability to upload, interfering with the ability for it to properly upload, interfering with the ability to publish what is uploaded. It is monitoring on the venue of the internet, and this is relevant to what the entity was committing when I documented that last week. That was not some sort of Spotify error on their end. They can call it whatever they want. It's ongoing surveillance that's on the venue of the internet that companies like Spotify do share in, but the entities engaging in surveillance in relevant position to where you're at, affecting your internet access, your connectivity, your devices, where they're in the engineered environment, engaging in psychopathic pacing. You're being monitored on the internet. So this is just referring you to what is already on the record, where companies like Spotify are part of the pattern of kind of, oh yeah, that's, we're having it.
Okay, this is the environment where demons are stalking with noise, and like I stated, this is real-time demonic activity that's in close proximity. These are not desks that are made out of like paper. So hitting this desk on the opposite side, neither one of these stations is going to cause an earthquake. This is a means of battery, and these are demons that are stalking with sensational activity. They're doing so while they are monitoring in engineered light. Okay, this is one hand, and you're looking at multiple shadows. They're doing so monitoring with the Ontario OVITT Family Community Library and engineered light. Okay, shadows in front and shadows behind. Let me show you my arms. This is their gang stalking. This is, again, no mystery. The Ontario police are stalking by helicopter for 6 minutes straight right outside of these doors. The fake sun is in alignment to me. Covering it up in the morning is no deviation from the pattern of conduct. It's mental illness exhibited by demons that are coming in to engage in surveillance. This is mental illness, okay? This is exposing what is mental illness by a population supposedly engaging in executing a secret system of surveillance. It's not a secret. Neither is stalking in helicopters that's published all over the internet, and you're inside of the same venue where that entity is engaged in criminal conduct on a ceaseless basis. This is P.O.C. This is OVITT Family Community Library engaging in what is sexual assault and battery, monitoring vagina in the bathroom as a population. Also engaging in gang stalking and furtherance of murder, public corruption. Doing so with minor children. You hear in the background, that's activity creation. And the engineered light. Everybody in here is concerned with surveillance. This is P.O.C. All right, demons, gang stalking at computer stations 2, 3, and 4. That is gang stalking, sitting in the engineer light, engaging in surveillance, conspicuous stalking, openly threatening and intimidating and harassing, sharing in what is an ongoing sex offense while molestation is underway. While you're sitting in engineer light, a sex offense is underway while they are stalking. That's all you're doing is stalking in the engineer environment. It's incessant, ongoing, ceaseless surveillance and furtherance of murder. And the demons that are walking in and out of the administration door, they're monitoring with the demons that are gang stalking, beating, hitting on the object, but they're actually not beating and hitting on it to the any extent where it would create impact like it is. These are demons that are sharing in what is harassment, and they're doing so as employees who are monitoring the evidence that I'm putting on X regarding the criminal surveillance pursuant to the D. Ramos and Christ that were gang stalking with the OVITT Family Community Library on October 24th, when the entity is lying, talking about I'm yelling in the bathroom at some mysterious person that I was never speaking with, who is capable of, I guess, looking through the walls, the bathroom stalls, where they're not just gang stalking, but they're engaging in what is the demonic pattern of conduct of seeing through the doors and the walls in order to create a very detailed description, even though they don't know who the person is that gave them that description. These are the employees that are gang stalking with the patrons. They're demons alike in engineer light, engaging in what is monitoring me and harassing me together while they're the demon possessed in the inside of a building. This is the OVITT so-called family library, and they are sharing in what is that monitoring conduct while the demon possessed are taking out their sexual frustration, their hostility,
by engaging what is a battery while I'm absorbing impacts from the desk, which is sensational activity, while demons are pacing from the administration door, where Myra is gang stalking, sitting at that desk, where demons are engaging in what is crossing path and monitoring me by presence. And these are psychopaths that are engaging in that passive-aggressive system of violence and engineer-like monitoring. And this is all in furtherance of murder. It's 11:07 a.m. This is P.O.C. They're monitoring in particular. What is frustrating and triggering the demons is the criminal summoning that they're going to prison for, both Chris and D. Ramos, and the gang stalkers that include Alexander, Abigail, John. They're here engaging in what is criminal summoning while they are engaging what is targeting me as documentation about them keeping my genitalia under surveillance and then lying while doing so. Lying about what they were told, lying altogether while you don't have to be told anything. You're keeping my genitalia under surveillance through the demons who are in the building. Gang stalking. Yeah, that's the mentally ill that are engaged in the P.O.C. It's 11:08 a.m. All right, this is documentation of demonic activity that is following the targeted individual who's being terrorized by the government, that is engaging in what is an unabated program of psychological torture upon what is stalking committed as a population, which is public corruption exposed, while the government and the civilian population are engaging in criminal activity together. And this criminal activity is to achieve what is ultimately a murder that is committed by that same stalking entity. And this is also an entity that is practicing what is demonic, stalking as demon-possessed entity, that is demon-possessed people. Those demon-possessed people are working for the government as well, while they're engaging in what is corrupt government practices, engaging in what is organized crime, ultimately kidnapping and murder. This is relevant to the sexual violence inherent to ceaseless, ongoing stalking, okay, which is also demonic. So inside of the bathroom, where no other physical presence is around me inside of the bathroom, the entity is stalking, okay? And the entity is engaged in what is in 12:35 p.m. So this is the sex offender Myra. She's monitoring my vagina. That's again, a homosexual predator that's engaged in what is the monitoring of another woman's vagina while she presents herself likely as a heterosexual woman, also clearly would not expose to anyone that she's a demon, that she's also a stalker, that she is mentally ill, a psychopath. But this is all true and it's factual based on her criminal engagement in what is gang stalking by place of employment at OVITT Family Community Library. And she's also gang stalking with the sex offender, a predator as well, Alexander, who is gang stalking at the circulation desk while my vagina, he is keeping under surveillance while he's gang stalking by place of employment, and so on and so forth with every employee at the OVITT Family Community Library. And the entity that is doing so while they are engaging what is that monitoring system inside of this private space. So the entity is maintaining what is amplified noise, crossing path in real time right now. The entity that's engaging in that and not addressing you, and you're not addressing them, engaging what is making malicious assertions about you yelling, about you engaging what is even talking to them in the first place, about there even being an exchange. That's the entity that's doing that in the specific environment and is absurdly mentally ill and perverted, okay? This is the entity that's engaging in that conduct, and they're doing so while they are keeping everything, including that target individual, under surveillance. So the entity is engaging in that conduct while I'm inside of the private space, and the entity is engaging in that while they are maintaining relevant positioning and with the intent to psychologically torture. This is psychological torture that is serving a sexually motivated purpose. This is psychological torture that an entity is sharing in as well. So you're getting to what is quantity, numerosity, the incalculable harms behind sexually motivated means of surveillance by, again, the demonic pattern of conduct, and the amplified noise is occurring while you're in the private space, while the entity is doing so to somebody that's not ignorant, doing it to somebody that is documenting. That's relevant to the harm intended when you're engaging in what is psychological torture. What is relevant to psychological torture? Things such as impulsive light activity, things such as amplified audible activity, things that are defying nature. When you are engaged in what is stalking, that is maliciously underway, doing so as a population that seeks to, and I'm showing how it fails, to falsely depict the character to depict the character of the target individual as being one who's mentally ill, when you're looking at that as under all circumstances nothing but criminal defamation, and it's exposing mental illness by that entire population that shares a pattern of conduct that is demented, okay? And it's also simultaneously exposing the Nephilim. The entity is engaging in this while inside of the private space, and does so with the intent to psychologically torture in a sexually perverted manner, meaning you're making what are threats that are implied by virtue of engaging in that pattern of conduct. Also, while it's being documented, you're keeping the evidence under surveillance. That's also what you know. But the entity is essentially engaging in what is, I want you to know that I'm keeping you under surveillance. I want you to know that I'm aware of what's going on with your genitalia. I want you to know that I'm engaged in what is stalking in your path right now. This is the conduct of Satan, okay? This is the conduct of the demon-possessed. That's what's behind amplified audible activity. When you are on the opposite side of the wall, when you are pacing, when you're maintaining a sky space, when you're, that is, again, the fake sun, the fake moon, the engineered light, the entity's engaging what is pacing in and out of places like bathrooms, and that's the same pattern of conduct, and that's what the entity is filling the private space with, okay? Engaging in what is surveillance inside of that private space is mentally deranged. It's also sexually motivated, predatory. It is the entity that is stalking in helicopter for 6 minutes over my head. That is what is stalking inside of the bathroom stalls on behalf of that entity. It's called vicarious action. It's state action. And the entity is doing that, exposing mental illness and public corruption, where surveillance does not have any sort of limit. It is underway at all places, and that's relevant to, again, the very heavily documented venue where I remain. And that's what the entity is engaging at 12:35 p.m. And everybody that's on the job, okay, is engaging in that joint cooperative act of surveillance of what is in a private space, and also what is private activity, and also entirely illegitimate. The entity is engaged in what is entirely illegitimate while you're looking at helicopter activity over my head for 6+ minutes. They're engaging in that surveillance inside of this private space and maintains amplified noise with the intent to psychologically torture. That's relevant to a sexually violent a communication of threat and harm. So that's what the entity is doing with that intent, and that's what you're going to prosecute. That's the incalculable harm. That's the entity that is engaging in that kind of, where you can't even quantify that. That is what has never been before contemplated under federal law, okay? It's currently 12:41 p.m. This is the P.O.C. at what is that same venue where I'm documenting that specific environment, and doing so pursuant to that P.O.C. in concert with the people of the state. All right, coming out of what is that private space where this is a female who you'll see, and she is monitoring as I walk out. That toilet flushing is audible noise and engineered light, and this is where the fake sun rises and sets. This is where you see their shadows, double shadows on the side of the wall, beside the staircase, and this is where you see engineered light, not sunlight that would be shooting like a laser at 5 p.m., not even at 10 a.m. At no point in the day is sunlight ever doing that. The amplified noise inside of the bathroom, that toilet flushing is not going to be heard through the walls of all the bathrooms. It's amplified, and it is as demonic as the impossible light activity, okay? So that's what shared. It is equally demonic. It is as demonic as the impossible light activity that you have also seen, okay? The entities engaging in demonic activity through what you hear and demonic activity through what you see. All right, it is currently 12:42 p.m. This is P.O.C., this bathroom monitoring at the OVITT Family Community Library. Excuse me. Hi, Yesenia. How are you?
Okay.
All right, Yesenia's hearing in that sex offense committed as an entity. P.O.C. And you're looking at all the bodies that are inside of the venue. They're all engaging. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Or 22 people. 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. That's just what I'm looking at right now, keeping my vagina under surveillance. Okay? And that's the entity that's engaging in what is making, that's the entity that is indeed gang stalking, making assertions that you're yelling when they're keeping you under surveillance, and you're not even talking to them, in the same way that they don't have to talk to you while they're gang stalking you. Oh, they don't have to say a word. And the entity is engaged in that pattern of conduct while they are making those assertions, proving also that they're gang stalking you. And that's the inexplicable assertions that they've made, and they have been even more far out, such as molesting a child. Okay, Minky, Myra, Alexander, Yesenia are sharing in that sex offense. They are here monitoring my vagina, including while the third party walks into the restroom while I'm documenting. They're all monitoring while the entity maintains amplified noise inside of that bathroom. That's the purpose of the engineered light. That's you don't have this specific environment for no purpose. So where you capture the specific environment, you already know that it is surveillance is underway. And it's a sex offense to engage in surveillance in the bathroom. What are you doing that for? That there are laws that exist right now with regard to placing cameras in bathrooms, engaging in what is watching people, watching women, putting cameras on your shoe and putting them under people's dresses, and engaging in what is peeping Tom voyeurism. There are laws that exist regarding this. This is what the government is doing with a population that's sharing in surveillance. and they're engaging in surveillance while they're being documented about it, pertaining to that. And then they make up information engaging in criminal summoning, intending to kidnap. That's also what Mickey and Myra, Yesenia, Alexander, they share, and all the employees, in other words. Those are just the ones that are on the clock right now. It's not limited to the times that you're at work. Those are just the demons that are maintaining presence in the path right now, in the same way that it's not traffic outside, it's surveillance, and they're maintaining presence. One demon after another remains present at the F Street and Euclid Avenue intersection on behalf of the state. They are never abandoning positioning. And the same thing, in the same way, when the library is closed and the entity's maintaining, they're still maintaining light activity. I'm documenting at the town square at nightfall, the same Ontario International Airport that has no takeoffs or landings at that town square, where you're engaging in that audible activity with regard to planes that are not going to be heard, that are not going to hover over that sky space when you're engaged in what is taking off from the airports, Terminals 2 and Terminal 4. They're aiding in surveillance, and they're also doing that while the entity is maintaining light activity in the bathroom, amplified noise inside of the bathroom, and relevant positioning you already know is underway. You don't have to see through the walls. You don't have to walk outside and see who's there. The entity is maintaining the engineer light, then you already know that you're under surveillance. The entity is maintaining amplified noise and that engineer light, you know that you are under surveillance, and that's in a private space, and that's the prosecution of a government for surveillance of your genitalia, monitoring. Remember, and it's not just surveillance. They don't just want to watch you. They don't just want to surveil you. They're monitoring. So while you're engaged in relieving yourself, while your legs are spread apart, while you're indisposed in your body, your genitalia is being molested, while you physically, they're monitoring. That's the stalking with noise conduct. That's the demonic pacing conduct centered around your genitalia. That's mental illness. These are, again, psychopathic and sexual perversion combined together. These are the secrets of the demon-possessed, and they are engaged in that inside of the so-called family community library. That's a family of demons, a community of gang stalkers, and they're all third-party and state actors. The employees at the OVITT family, they represent the city of Ontario. That is a fully exposed terrorist, okay? And they are maintaining that criminal system sorry, I'm doing something else at the same time. They are engaging in that criminal system on behalf of the state inside of this venue, and they do so maliciously, and they're doing so very obviously as well. The entity's been engaged in a documented pattern of criminal summoning and engaging in what is kidnapping, and they're going to prison for that. So the video that you saw last night, that you listened to on podcasts of the Ontario Police, remember, that's a targeting agency that's targeting in furtherance of murder. They're doing so while the OVITT Family Community Library maintains surveillance on its behalf, and they're very much intimidated and fearful. What do psychopaths resort to when they're fearful? They engage in more criminal and threatening behavior, such as criminal summoning and malicious assertions. That's exactly what Starbucks committed. That's exactly what Economy Inn, that's exactly what Tracy Banks committed at Woodside. Very fearful. Well, you are under no circumstance of breaking the law at all. These demons are very fearful of what it is that you're exposing about them, and they engage in more federal offenses in doing so. This is exactly what's informing federal policy, and that's exactly why Mike Lorenz, Derek Williams are going to be federally prosecuted, and it's going to be a conviction in court. They've already been convicted and proven before the world, which is necessary. When you're proving that the government is engaging in this level of criminal conduct and corruption, you should be able to prove everything that you are alleging, and I've done that and more. And I'm going to prosecute them in federal court for being terrorists and facilitating terrorism in concert with the people of the state who are violent sex offenders and psychopaths, the Nephilim, who have been maintaining this system of surveillance and monitoring American citizens. It's P.O.C. It's 12:47 p.m.
Molesting, license 7B. The sex offender 7SHH673, I believe. Molesting, and which is Sarah's Regis Group 320 North Euclid Avenue is molesting. The people of the state are stalking, and they're stalking with all the demons that live in that apartment building. I'm going to prosecute Sarah's Regis as a sex offender that it is. It's also a terrorist. Has the fake moon, and I'm documenting the fake sunrise and sunset. Well, psychopaths are engaging in criminal activity, stalking, and furtherance of murder with Sarah's Regis Group at 320 North Euclid Avenue. This is terrorism that Sarah's Regis Group is engaging in, while terrorists are engaging what is relevant positioning, which is including, inevitably, that third party, which is not innocently being documented. Sarah's Regis Group is fully engaged in the P.O.C. It is currently 9:20 p.m. Oh, it's not just Sarah's Regis Group, it's OVITT Family Community Library, Ontario Town Square, the entity, but I'm facing after Pond exit. Obviously, it's after 9 p.m. So OVITT Family Community Library, gang stalked me all day long with the city of Ontario. Pond exit, fake moon is over the venue. I took a picture of that. Demons are pacing around stalking and furtherance of murder. Psychopaths, sex offenders. Not touching you with headlights, touching you like a sex offender that's stalking with engineered light, the demon possessed, P.O.C. Okay, the sex offender would include Securitas, gang stalking. All right, Securitas is engaged in what is that sex offense as a third party associated with Sarah's Regis, with the city of Ontario that's maintaining what is roarous activity as though I'm supposed to be scared and stop documenting. That's evidence that Securitas is a sex offending gang stalker, a terrorist. That's the entity that's doing so as I'm documenting the people of the state, and the government is always incriminating the people of the state and vice versa. P.O.C. it's 9:21 p.m. where the entity is maintaining the sound of Tyrannosaurus Rex while I begin walking beside the OVITT Family Community Library, P.O.C. All right, license plate. This is license 9HRM970. That's a sex offender. License plate. They're sharing in a molestation. Sex offenders, one after another, disengaging in what is a satanic orgy while they're stalking as a government. License plate. 8SUS 710, 7MAP 786, 9KNT 784, and AAA, I believe. Yeah, license 44044F3, molesting. And so is this demon, and this is all Sarah's Regis criminal conduct with the city of Ontario. This looks like Alexander, 9LKU025, I believe he has the same gut as Alexander. That's gang stalking at the OVITT. This is, again, sex offenders that are engaging in what is stalking. They're just pacing around in vehicles. License 8HZT415, 7XHP195. This is sexual assault and battery as an entity that's engaged in stalking and furtherance of murder. They're monitoring, and the entity is engaging in criminal conduct, which is relevant to what is the ability to deport the population that's engaged in gang stalking. License 87335J3, P.O.C. Yeah, they're using the Tesla charging station as a means of gang stalking. They're all engaging in a sex offense together while demons are pacing around me, and they're inside of the parking garage engaging in what is monitoring to that sex offense. They are together joining in on a sex offense committed by the government. License 9SKJ216. And this is mental illness. This is what they do under a fake sun that remains over you, and they're all sharing in what is a sexual assault and battery. 8PFV013. Engaging in what is sexual assault and battery. 2 homosexuals. Psychopaths. 9VLW506. License plate. These are women touching on me, and I have not consented to them touching on my body while they're stalking another woman. Those are indeed predators who are homosexual. License 8ZXA510, 9GKN171, 9BCE522, 8FZP356, 9DYN403, 9HOS644, 8PF, oh, I think I read that one. License plate, 9TGJ919, 9GKN171, 9FBR541, 9SKJ216, 9UYN650. And this is license plate DJ65C39, driving those hideous vehicles that look like armored vehicles, where gang stalkers very well engaged in using them to harm people, a mass amount of people. They look like they're used in war. These evil geniuses like Elon Musk that design vehicles that are literally used like they're used to bomb buildings, especially while they're gang stalking. I believe they did that in Las Vegas already. License 8FZP356. It's 9:24 p.m.
This is P.O.C. Be clear the end of the pattern of conduct with the people of the state. This is my shadow that's upright. With the amplified plane activity and the impossible light activity, their headlights, they're not lighting up the car. They're not going to cause the shadow to move in this direction or in this direction. And understand the failed tactics and the outdated tactics of this gang stalking system that is hereby being exposed to this public investigation. The entity is now at the desperate and also self-destructive, okay, self-detrimental tactic of actually wanting to be captured, engaging in the ongoing same gang stalking. This is nothing other than an admission that you're targeting. To engage in what is stalking by helicopter and then to repeatedly engage in stalking by helicopter, for example, is to admit that you are targeting. To engage in targeting and then to repeat that ongoing targeting conduct is not to suggest that you're not targeting. This is the failed logic of the entity that is wanting to be captured, anticipating reasonably. Psychopathic also, but also I want to be clear, wants to be captured engaging in what is consistent evidence of targeting. This is the entity that's going to be prosecuted inevitably, and that is a prosecution of the terrorist, the domestic terrorist, Mike LORENZ, and the Ontario Police Department. That's a terrorist agency. And I want to be clear, that's relevant to the entity that's watching itself being exposed on the internet, still engaging in what is targeting and furtherance of murder, doing this to the average American citizen that doesn't have the evidence, and accomplishing their murder. And so I am not, again, not the first target, and you're looking at the ways in which they're doing it to someone that is fully, under no circumstances, being misrepresented with regard to my character. They were only engaging in that while they were lying, silencing me, kidnapping me, and doing it behind my back, which you are necessarily doing. Because there is no way this absurdity of mental illness that you are seeing exhibited in this environment, that psychopathic targeting, demons flinging light all over the place, there is no way that anybody with a straight face is going to effectively defame me in my face. It's not going to stand up in court either. And it's not going to work against any other American citizen. The entity's engaging in this and they want to be captured, and it is the same consistent evidence of, first of all, is mental illness, and second of all, of what is targeting. That's the city of Ontario. That is the entity that's gang stalking by Ontario International Airport. This is P.O.C. in concert with the people of the state. They're targeting together with the impossible light, stalking in the path. Your headlights are not causing that light to move across. They're demons, and they provide evidence against each other while they engage, and that's very foolish. This is the implosion of gang stalking. This is P.O.C. It's currently 9:43 p.m.